Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Hill, your legacy builder at Winning Proof, and I am here for another Winning Proof Unscripted. Today, I have a really special guest, Thursall Celle, and I met Thursall on a female networking group that I go to called Broads, and we got in a meeting room, I think a couple of times, and so I was really intrigued by what she does, and so we're just here today to have a conversation. So welcome, Thursall.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. And I am going to read just a little short bio of Thursall's, and then we'll just kind of get right into the conversation. If you know someone struggling with fatigue, hormone, weight, digestive issues, or just confused about what to eat, Thursall can help. She is passionate about helping others achieve their health goals through real food, not fake food, real food. She loves to help women and their families, or women wanting to start and grow their family, to feel better through nutrition. This will allow them to more fully experience the amazing and profound joy life has to offer. She lives in Apex, North Carolina, with her husband and 2 children. So Thursall, you're all about getting health back. So you say you can help people have more energy, know what to eat, prevent diabetes, or get pregnant. So talk a little bit about all the services that you offer.
Perfect. Thank you. So if we think about what we're eating as a fuel for our bodies, and we think about some of the things that we might eat that are not great for our bodies, like those fire red Cheetos or whatever those are, right? Or the diet Mountain Dew, I could go on. Those things are actually damaging our bodies. So when we start to correct our cellular health by feeding it the things that it needs and avoiding things that are harmful to the body, we can see amazing things happen. Our bodies really want to, they want to process things correctly and work efficiently and heal damaged tissue and do all of these things, but the body still needs all like the nutrients and everything that goes into that to actually make those processes work efficiently. So I don't take okay, everybody needs to eat this way and be perfect. I meet everyone where they're at, and I see clients one-on-one and in group settings. And groups are some of my most fun because people can see how other people are struggling and support them as well. And so you kind of build this feeling of community. So what I do is not just say, okay, here are some ways that you could eat better, but I also do a thorough intake and a deep dive into what's going on in the body from an all systems on board perspective. And when I look at that, I can tell just based on symptoms, if your digestion is off, this means that you're already having like a missing link in this chain of health. So we get the digestion working better, and then your body is more able to assimilate those nutrients that you are eating and to for everything to work better. I mean, we've all heard that gut bacteria is, gut health is king, and we need to have better gut health. But how do we get there? It starts with digestion and what we're putting into our bodies. The next thing I do, not so much in my group settings, but in one-on-one programs, I do a hair tissue mineral analysis. Wow. And this gives me a really good idea of what is going on cellularly, as well as if you are experiencing any issues from toxic metal buildup, if you are not able to like if your body is struggling because of mineral ratios that are out of balance. So this kind of helps me fine tune. Usually what I find on the hair test just corresponds to what I've already seen in all of my intake and all of that. But through all of this work, we can really figure out, okay, what is this person really missing, and how do we get them that much closer to better hormone health, better digestion, better skin, energy, a huge, just issue with people having energy issues. Who turns to the energy drinks and the coffee drinks? Nearly everyone, because we are all struggling to get through the day. So I address all of those things, and I'm just going to keep rambling on unless you pop in.
No, I love what you're saying. So, and I'm writing down notes as I want to ask you questions too, but how did you get into this field? What originally prompted you to get into this?
So, like many of us in this type of field, I had my own health issues. And it started with, hormonal issues and significant pain during my menstrual cycles when I was very young. And over years, it kind of transmuted into fatigue. After work, I would get out of work, drive to the grocery store, sit in the parking lot, look at the grocery store entrance and go, I just can't do it. I can't. And I would just order takeout. So I wasn't able to make that effort. And I used to think I was lazy and had no motivation. And as I have improved my health, that is definitely not the case. I do like to relax sometimes, but if my health is struggling, that's the biggest reason why I don't get things done. And I can see it in hindsight, of course. The other thing that happened, so I had some general health issues that the doctor said, oh, your lab tests look great. Come back in 6 months. I don't know what to tell you. Eat better, exercise, right? That's what sometimes you hear, but with no concrete information. And, but the next thing that happened was my husband and I were trying to get pregnant, and it had been about 2 years. And I had done a surgery. We had done a lot of different things with different doctors. We ended up doing the big thing you end up with if you're struggling with infertility, and that is the IVF process. So we did that, and it failed, meaning we did not get pregnant. Some people have embryos that they can freeze for a future cycle and then do a shortened cycle in the future. That's a thing. We didn't have any embryos from that cycle that were frozen for a future time. And the doctor said in our follow-up, he said, if you want to try IVF again, you should probably use donor eggs. So that means harvesting somebody else's eggs and then trying to do the implantation and see if you get pregnant that way. And that was a lot to take in. The IVF process has a lot of hormonal impacts, and it was a very difficult time for me. And I just couldn't see jumping back into any of those processes. So I kind of put a pause on things. And in the meantime, through word of mouth, I was made aware of a functional medicine doctor who ran a food sensitivity panel. And when the results came back, I stopped eating all the things that were in the red column and the orange column. And within 3 months, my whole body changed. My acne went away. I lost 15 pounds. My fatigue was starting to become less. And the most impressive change was in my cycles. I didn't have to use pain meds for my cycles, and it had been years and years of pain meds for each cycle. And they were shorter and easier and not as heavy, and it was amazing. So I kind of just put everything on pause and just lived my life for some time, not really ready to go back to the IVF route and not really making any decisions. And I wasn't 100% with the diet changes, but 9 months after that failed IVF, I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant naturally without going back to the fertility clinic, without doing any of those things that we had been going through. And that was my son. So I was pregnant with my son. He's now 10. And yeah, it's amazing. And we tried again. I know the story is like getting long, but we tried again.
Right ahead.
Couldn't do it. I figured out wheat was probably the biggest factor going on for me. Everybody's different, but for me, it was causing so much inflammation. And there's an addictive component of wheat. And I literally could not stop eating it, even though I desperately wanted to get pregnant again. And so my acupuncturist recommended a hypnotherapist. I saw her one time. I stopped eating wheat, and I was pregnant with my daughter on the next cycle. So in hindsight, wheat, gluten, crackers, cookies, cakes, and I wasn't eating cookies and cakes. I was just eating wheat bread or cereal or something that everybody eats, pasta, right? But those things were damaging to me, and everybody is different. So it might not be the case for you, but that's the work that I do. I help to figure out what's going on. But that was causing so much inflammation and damage in my body that I was not able to get pregnant before.
Wow.
And so I wanted to learn more about how I could help my family and my friends with, like explanations of why, because nobody seemed to really listen or care, or like, I don't believe you. Well, so I went back to school for a functional holistic nutrition program. And then I realized I could see clients, and I shifted my whole life and decided, okay, I'm gonna try to do this as well. So, and it's really, it is my purpose, my reason. Sometimes in the past when business was low or tricky, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should just give it up or quit, not try to make it a business. And I was like, yeah, but I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to want to work with people or learn. So I just have kept trucking, and here I am.
And that's good, because they say that you're in your sweet spot or your mojo when you would do something for free,
Yes.
and I see that passion in you to do that. So if somebody came to you and said, oh, I really struggle with late night snacks. So many people do that. I have friends that will eat a 16-ounce bag of shelled peanuts at midnight, and stuff. What do you tell people that just have those cravings of late night snacks?
Yeah. So first of all, your hormones are very powerful, and how everything is working together, it all makes sense and works well when it's working well. But those cravings are a sign that your body is out of balance in a big way. And so if I was doing a deep dive with them, I'd probably need a lot more information, but I would focus on blood sugar regulation. And what we do is we eat more regular meals during the day that are satisfying based on a protein, add healthy fat. Fat is really important for feeling satisfied, and also for fuel and balancing the blood sugar. And then add on healthy carbs. And in each meal during the day that is a regular meal or snack, you make sure you have the protein and or a little bit of fat, and then carbs. And over time, doing this helps to slow down these swings of blood sugar and insulin that are going on in the body, and that will reduce the cravings significantly. There are so many other things that are tied in here, but that's the number one, is to make sure we're fueling our body for what it needs, when it needs it, on an ongoing basis to stop these swings, because you're really, the cravings are built out of mostly the blood sugar imbalance.
Yeah, for sure. And on the other side
factors.
of that, what? I'm sorry.
Yeah. There are other factors, of course, but
yeah, a whole bunch of other, factors go into that. So you have to kind of talk to each person but I know that's a common malady, is that, I just get so hungry at 11 o'clock at night. I'm not one of them, because I stop eating at 5 or 6 whenever I have dinner, and then that's it for the night. But a lot of people struggle with that. But I think more people struggle with that midday 2 to 4 p.m. sluggishness, when you feel like a slug. I just can't go on. My brain isn't functioning. What do you tell people for that regularly struggle with that?
Of course. So the same things that I just said, those also apply. But in addition, often we are mineral deficient. And sodium and potassium and magnesium and calcium, these are the kind of top 4, but sodium and potassium are really related to what's going on with our energy systems. And stress depletes those minerals, and we need them to deal with stress. So we start to get on this kind of cycle where we're getting more and more depleted. So I do have a recipe that I give clients, an adrenal cocktail. You can Google it, or maybe Michelle can put the link in the description below, but adrenal cocktail, and it's basically has sodium and potassium and vitamin C to help your body absorb all of that. And that's what I actually have clients use all day long instead of coffee.
Yes. And speaking of coffee, again, I'm not a coffee drinker. I stay away from caffeine because of the headache things, and I just don't like coffee at all. But so people that are used to eating what you mentioned at the very beginning, I don't know, the fire, I'm not a snacker either.
The Cheetos, whatever they were.
We don't need fire red Cheetos, or the Doritos, or the unhealthy, whether it's sugar or fat, or maybe a combination of both. Are there food alternatives that people will not turn their nose up to, that they can substitute for those things and still feel like, that was really good, I had a really good snack? Or like, I'm not going to eat that, that's like cardboard.
Right, absolutely. So I mean, as you go along, you can't expect to say, I love the Oreos and the fire red Cheetos, whatever they're called. Maybe somebody can comment and tell us, but whatever they're called, your taste buds are used to this highly flavored food. So it takes some time, but so there are organic Doritos, by the way, which are without the food colorings, the preservatives, and some of the junk. So that's like a step in the right direction to remove some of the things. But if we're talking about balanced meals and healthier snacks, fats are not something to be feared if you're getting a regular diet. If you're having a ton of carbs, yes, fear a lot of fats, because combined you will gain weight. You will gain the weight. But my favorite example of something that's healthy but also nourishing is a green salad, like the nice greens, the restaurant quality greens, with goat cheese, some pecans or almonds, whatever your favorite nuts are, some beet slices, even the red onions. You think of your fancy restaurant salad with goat cheese and beets and nuts or whatever, you can make that at home pretty easily, and just put some olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And that is like a taste explosion, but it's good for you. So as you move from the spicy Cheetos or the hopped up energy drinks or sodas, and you kind of start moving forward, things will taste better and better. I'm having dandelion root tea, which is kind of bitter like coffee, and I've put some grass-fed cream in it, and I'm really enjoying it, for example. So as you go forward, you'll see that taste buds change, and your body really does appreciate being nourished.
Okay. This is so helpful. I think this is so helpful for people to know that there are alternatives to the FDNC red and yellow number 5 or whatever, all the preservatives that are in our food. And, they say the experts say if you can't pronounce it, it probably doesn't go in your body. And the
Right.
less ingredients, the better. So yeah, absolutely. So can you share a little bit about, I have a couple more questions. Your client successes, people that have come to you, that maybe women that were infertile or people that were just obese, very unhealthy, and what
Yeah.
have, share some, a
Yeah.
couple success stories.
Sure. So the first one that popped into my mind was a client who she was used to a very active lifestyle, very busy, and she noticed that she just didn't have energy to do anything anymore. And she was maybe a little overweight and just didn't feel that great. And so she was recommended by her friend, actually, who also had seen me. But so she came to me and she's like, I think I eat pretty well. And I'm like, okay, well, let's tweak how much protein you're getting and what fats you're getting. And we switched up some of her vitamins and made sure she was getting what she needed. And we ran the hair test for the minerals. And we had 2 sessions. That's how I do like a first gathering information and a lot of information back to the client. And then the second session with the hair test. And then I didn't hear from her. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Is she okay? Is she having trouble with anything? Is she, what's going on? And so I reached out. I said, hey, do you want to schedule another session? And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm feeling fantastic. She said, I'm back on my bike riding 5 miles a day. I'm back to traveling. I feel great. I'm so happy. Thank you. And I was like, okay, great. That's wonderful. Let me know if you need anything. In other situations, it's taken a lot longer to see the results. And, we get into these states, it takes years and years of chronic exposure or overeating carbs. And our insulin is high before the doctors, they don't check insulin. So they don't even know before our blood sugar is high enough to say we're pre-diabetic or we have diabetes. So in those cases, it takes a lot longer. But you can see simple changes just in, outlook and mood. I've been working with a cancer client. So she recently was diagnosed with breast cancer, had the double mastectomy, and just feels kind of like, overwhelmed. And I know I need to eat better, but how do I do that? Everybody says healthy eating is this. Well, it's true, healthy eating, but everybody is different. And so we figure out, where they are with those things. So that work with her was good, but the profound part that came out of that was that she realized through our conversations and coaching, she realized that she wasn't really taking care of herself at all. She took care of her kids. She was like super awesome at her job. She wasn't taking care of herself. The thought of spending 20 minutes a day just on something she wanted to do was completely foreign. And this ties into our health as well. Yeah. And so through our work together, she had some huge aha moments and is able to incorporate not just eating better. And her goal was to want to eat the things that she knew she was supposed to eat just because she wanted to, not because she was supposed to. That was her goal. And by the end of our, it was an 8-week kind of weekly session setting, she definitely, like, the words came out of her mouth. Yeah, I ate that because I wanted it. And I was like, that was your goal. Do you remember? So it's it's really wonderful.
Yeah. I did a physique transformation contest in 1998 and lost a whole bunch of 30 pounds, and body fat went from 16 to 34 to 10 or something, 16, right, something like that. It was a dramatic drop, but it was the way I thought about food That was the
Yeah.
big change. I was used to eating maybe a baked potato for lunch, loaded with butter
Yeah.
and sour cream and everything.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit to change to where, oh, I really like this with salsa, fresh salsa.
Mhm.
And
Right,
so,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my screen just like moved.
Oh, it
Let me
did.
get the
Okay. No,
window
you're
back.
still on screen. You're good.
Good, good. Well, I'll try to turn back. Oh, one of my monitors died. All right. I'll
Oh,
just
how
keep
odd.
looking.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah, I thought your
That's
dog
so
walked
weird.
in.
I don't know. It just turned off.
Oh, really?
Weird.
No, you
Anyway,
didn't turn
go
off
ahead.
though. You didn't, you
That's
deleted
good.
the camera. But yeah, it's just a matter of changing your taste buds to where
Yeah.
this potato, you know, if you're going to have a baked potato, it just tastes so much better with salsa and not the butter and the sour cream. So that's the matter
Yeah.
of changing
So
your taste
here,
buds.
let me change my camera real quick. So I'm
Okay.
looking at you. Sorry about this. And
No.
then I won't feel
It's
so
okay.
I actually butter is important for us, real butter, not margarine. Often you'll find all the margarine things, right? But butter is really important for fertility.
Oh,
And yes, yeah, there are nutrients in butter that just are not
that's a plug for
available.
butter.
Yeah. Oh no.
Everybody's
don't
like,
have-
oh, no butter, no butter.
Right? No, and that's where healthy eating, you know, we've talked about that term a couple times. But the some people have become very sensitive to dairy and react to it.
Okay.
Right? But as a general rule, butter from an animal that is healthy, it's not actually bad for us.
Wow.
It provides really good fats, especially for fertility and even brain health and things like that, you know, we've heard for so long that butter is not good for us. And that the fat is making us fat, but it's really like more related to the carbs and the sugar and the additives and the chemicals. Did you know there are chemicals that are classified as obesogens? Wow. Because they literally feed into obesity. Wow. And diabetogens because they literally can make you diabetic. Wow. Over time. So these chemicals, you know, and all of these things that we're exposed to and what we're eating, it's just kind of this combination that makes it hard for us to be actually healthy, for our cells to get what they need, and for us to perform and function at the top of our game, whatever that is, if you're the stay-at-home mom or if you are, you know, a top executive or an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know athletes have personal nutritionists and personal people they work with that helps them to perform at the top of their game. You know, an athlete will not perform at the top of their game if they're eating the red Cheetos. The theme of this podcast is the red Cheeto thing.
Right.
No, they're not going to eat junk food constantly as their diet and perform top shelf on the field. So it's that. But I wanted to ask you too, like people that have ongoing medical issues, MS, fibromyalgia, all the different types of arthritis and things like that. Yeah. How does eating holistically and healthy and how does that play into their health going forward? Does it really help?
It does really help. And you probably, I mean, we've had these words like over and over in this call already because it's so true. Our cells need certain things to function. Our immune system needs certain things to work well. And so it makes sense that you need the proper nutrition on board to deal with any physical ailment or any chronic condition. It just like that's it. So did you ask a second part there? You asked about
just how does it help maintain and minimize the disease, the condition, the MS, the whatever it happens to be, all the arthritis.
Right. So yes, you asked a bunch of different situations. So for example, arthritis, highly inflammation driven situation, right? And isn't there also a little autoimmune component? So you want to get your body out of inflammation, reduce inflammatory foods. Those things are harming you because they're causing inflammation. Get your inflammatory reactions back in balance. How do you do that? You feed your cells what they need to do that. And so, yes, so that's arthritis. MS, there's actually a doctor, Dr. Walls, who has developed the Walls protocol. It is an amazing protocol. She had MS, was not just wheelchair bound, but was like, she had to be reclined because of the gravity situation. And she tried all these supplements, she tried all these things, she did all this research, and in the end, she figured out that food was exactly what she needed. So she developed this protocol. And I mean, if my friend came to me and said, I have MS, what would you do? I'd be like, I would feed my body these things. This is perfect. You need these things. Your cells need these things. And she is now thriving, living her life. And she's actually running studies, clinical studies, to prove the relation of this diet to the quality of life and regression of MS, for example.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's huge. I mean, you know, there are examples of this all across the board. Cancer, for example, highly dependent on sugar consumption. And you might not have been eating a ton of sugar, but when we get into these cycles of blood sugar up, insulin up, the blood sugars, they stay in your body like over, I mean, you just don't have low enough levels ever. Oh my gosh, my Zoom is all over the place. Sorry.
You're absolutely fine.
Good. Great. That's still working.
Yeah, absolutely fine. So if somebody goes on a holistic, healthy, plant-based diet or nutritional plan, I don't like the word diet because it just has so many negative connotations to it. I call it a nutritional plan. So if somebody goes on that, but and I know cravings go away when you start on that, when you're on it and you maintain it. If somebody is going out somewhere or, you know, and they just have a temporary sudden craving for an unhealthy food, is that going to just derail them forever? Can they just like breathe, regroup, and get back on it? Is that okay to do that?
I think you just answered your own question. So, but I'll speak to that. I teach a little coaching process called the Empowered Pause. And we follow some breathing, and then we take a minute to see, okay, how do we really feel? Do we need that? Why? Let's make sure we are on board with all the decisions that we make instead of just mindlessly. So you mindfully make a decision whether or not to eat something. So that's the first thing. But the second thing, it depends on how your body reacts to something. So if you finally figure out you're gluten sensitive and your body reacts and you kind of can figure out all the inflammation or inflammatory things going on in the body, I would say don't do that. It's like literally poisoning yourself. It's damaging your body. So there are some kind of things that come into play there. And then the last thing is that, the cravings go away. Planning. So maybe that's not the last thing, but planning is really important. So before you go to the restaurant, you figure out what can I eat there and what is going to satisfy me there. Because you want to feel happy with your choice and you want it to taste good. And you want to make sure. I've found that in the past, when I was struggling, I still struggle, but when I couldn't stop eating gluten in the past, if I made a decision before I went to the restaurant, there was a huge difference, because when you get to the restaurant and you're hungry and you're like, I really want the burger and fries because that is so good. If you have already planned for that, pear gorgonzola salad with salmon, grilled salmon on top, like you're ready for it. You just order that and then it's good, and you're not making that decision at that time. So that was the third thing, planning.
Yes.
The last thing is, I just wanted to say about plant-based diets. This is very controversial.
Mhm.
I do not advocate a plant-based diet. I advocate adding in a lot of plant foods. We need fiber for blood sugar regulation, all of that.
Okay.
If somebody wants to do plant-based for a short time, I'm like, go for it, but make sure you're getting enough protein, the right sources.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult. Make sure you're getting the right B vitamins. That's also a little bit tricky sometimes. So I do not advocate that as a first line, like ever.
Okay.
And then,
So what are
and
all
then-
these like frozen new things coming up in the frozen food section? Plant-based, plant-based, plant-based. That's all you see now. So why is there such a push for that?
That's a good question. There are some books, there are some documentaries, there are a lot of things out there. In the last few years, there's also kind of a difference between vegan and being plant-based. And I really apologize if I'm stepping on anyone's toes, but I was schooled in this information a little while ago, a few years. There's a lot of information out there, and some of the information says that red meat causes cancer. End of story. And it's very like reactionary, inflammatory information from all these studies. But there are just as many resources out there, not as maybe widely pushed out, that show the exact opposite, that it does not cause cancer. Is it, all these meat-based studies, what's the quality of the meat that they're eating? Are they eating it on a cheeseburger with the bread and the bad fats from the restaurant? And, there's a lot of information that goes into that. And so I advocate for high quality proteins, including animals that were raised and treated well and are healthy, not pumped full of antibiotics because they're all sick. Or, mishandled animals and mistreated, all this, it factors into the quality of our food and the nutrition that we get from it. Grass-fed beef, for example, has a fairly decent omega-3 profile.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this information out there that makes it look really bad, but then some of the studies, when you look at them, they're actually not including all of the data points from other countries where there was high meat consumption and higher health rate. So does that make sense?
That makes total sense, because we have to talk about the fads they're always fads, the ice cream diet, the cabbage soup diet, all the fads that have gone through the world, there's Yeah. And I mean, that's why it's controversial. There are a lot of things that are like, we're getting more and more divided on. And, I will honor someone's beliefs, but, and help them where they're at until I can't help them. But especially fertility, it can be a huge factor if you've been vegan or vegetarian for quite a while. Because you're not getting enough of the proper nutrients to have a baby. Yeah, for sure.
Sperm quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what a fascinating discussion. You are full of really, really good information. And if somebody is watching this and saying, oh man, I got to get off those blood red Cheetos, or I just have to make some changes, how can they connect with you and get in touch with you to find out more about a healthier lifestyle, a healthier nutritional plan?
Right. So you can call or text me at 919-249-8282, or you can reach me anyway. You can probably search my name. It's very unique. Thursall, THURSALL, or I have two websites. One is elementalbloom.com, And that's kind of basic, basic nutrition. And the other one is specifically focused on fertility, has some blogs and resources and so on. And that is focusingonfertility.com.
That is awesome. And I will put all this in the show notes. So you'll have all of this information. And I really want to thank you for being a guest today. I think this was very, very informative and very helpful, and is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you can, if you want to get in touch with Winning Proof, you can find me on my website, winningproof.com. My email is winningproof@gmail.com. And I'm on all the social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I haven't expanded to TikTok yet. The jury is still out on that one. So you know where to find me. I'll just say that. So I just thank everybody for watching this episode of Winning Proof Unscripted, and we'll see you next time.